On the Range podcast with Rick Hogg and Mark Kelley.
All right. 3, 2. Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of On the Range podcast with Warhawk Tactical and Kelley Defense. I am Mark Kelley from KelleyDefense.com, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host and friend from Warhawk.com, Rick Hogg. How's it going, buddy?
Man, Mark, it's going great. Just want to thank you, the viewer, listener, for giving us your most precious commodity, your time to tune in. We are here live at Royal Range in Nashville, Tennessee at the Second Chance K9 fundraising event, and we're super excited about today's guest. So we got Jordan. We're going to talk some financial planning. So for all of you kind of sticking your money under the mattress, I think Jordan's going to give you some better insight. So, Jordan, welcome to the show, buddy.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. So what do you do, and what's a little bit about you?
Yeah, so I'm a financial advisor on the civilian side, and then on the weekends I shoot guns and blow stuff up with the National Guard. And I've been doing that been in the finance side for a little over 8 years and been in the Guard for over 16.
Wow.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I think too much politics. To me, they're entertainers.
That's fair.
You know, and it's not, hey, dude, I don't care what your political affiliate. Just play the game,
yeah.
right? And I don't even like watching professional sports anymore.
That's fair.
Because
I think a lot of people feel that way.
Yeah. Number one, try to go to a game, price is out of control. Number two, what garbage am I going to be indoctrinated with? Because the team, I don't want your crap, right?
Sure.
If you don't want to be an American freaking stand, then go hang out in the locker room and beat it, right? But
there's a big game going on today, though. There's Alabama versus UGA.
Yeah.
Right. My wife went to UGA. I went to Alabama.
Yep.
So house divided.
And dude, I'm good. I'm good with that, right? Like I like college ball.
Yeah.
Because you see more passion there. You don't see the passion at the pro level.
I think it's
right?
money.
Oh, 100% is money. It's money, and they've got to that point where, whether you want to call it fame or whatever, oh, look at me. I'm going to do, I'm going to act like a jackhole. Look at Kaepernick. Oh, I'm going to take a knee. Well, piss on you, dude, right? Who are you? Yeah, you can say it's your right, but also I blame the league. I blame the team. So if you think about it, there should be some code of conduct standards. Hey, this is not your place to do your political beliefs. You want to do it on your own time? I don't care. But you're wearing that uniform, you rep this team. So is that the team's view? Or is that just your individual, right? But they don't want to run it they run it like a business, but they don't. Hey, dude, in some cases, that's a fireable offense. So when I was in the military, I wear the uniform, I conduct a political something, I can have UCMJ action against me. Now, as Johnny Civilian, out of uniform, I'm entitled to say what I want.
Sure.
The principle should be the same for those guys.
The
field is not your place to inject your politics. What you say on your own, I don't care. What you put on social, I don't care, right? That's your team's business. If they got some social bar, I don't care, right? But you're just there to entertain. And that's all they are, overpaid entertainers.
What are your thoughts?
I think once these folks get to a certain level of fame, I think they do tend to believe, some people aren't this way, but they do tend to believe that people actually care about other things than what they're supposed to do. They think that there's some kind of importance to what they're saying on any topic when, you may just be a comedian. You may just be a ball player. Why I would ask, these folks have a lot of money in the NFL. It's like a high percentage that most of them are end up broke within 6 years of them getting out of the league. Now, why that I would take any kind of advice from that person on money or whatever is ridiculous, right? But people, they do. They do. They think that Jimmy Kimmel's a perfect example. He's a comedian. He was great. Now, all of a sudden, he's doing a bunch of commentary on politics. I don't know. It's not what you're there for.
No.
And the capitalism will shine because that's why they're losing tens of millions of dollars a year. But I don't know. The NIL, I think, was a huge mistake. It had some good things. It had some bad things. Now you have all these leagues or conferences who are starting to have some better teams. But the only people that are the only schools that are getting better are the ones who have the money to spend. So now you're going to have a lot of less attention on a school like Nebraska. You're there. They don't have the money to spend on that kind of stuff. They're not playing anybody because they're in a bad conference. You don't even hear about them. I think Clay Travis said that they hadn't won a game on a top 25 team in like 3 decades. And think about that. Remember how Nebraska back in the day was great?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Man, they're so irrelevant now. It's just ridiculous. But I don't know. That's what I think. You're there to play football. Well, Texas spent tens of millions, maybe it was $100 million on their athletes this past year, on their athletes. And it wasn't all of them. It was maybe a handful of them. I think Arch Manning, what did he get, $16 million? Something crazy?
Mm-hmm.
And I may be wrong about that, but anyway. I think these owners, they try to keep these players happy to the point where they allow them to do stuff like that, which is totally ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you're someone who's made $1 billion in your life. Now you have a football team, and you're going to have some kid who just got out of college who we're paying a lot of money to play, and he's acting a fool.
But
Bro.
take it a step further, right? Why is the commissioner? Because ultimately, it's his organization, right? The commissioner could dictate, hey man, across the board, whether teams want to enforce or not, if you want to be in this league, you're not going to show any type of politics out on the field. That's not what we're here to do. We're here to play a game, entertain,
build our brand,
build a brand.
Yeah.
Well,
that's why the NBA is so terrible. Nobody watches the NBA.
No, because they're all out there spouting their garbage, putting crap on their shirts. It's like, dude, nobody wants that.
Yeah.
You don't really see any of that in college.
No.
Because
the thing with college, right? This is what I think. Number one, the players, they're all jockeying for a chance to play in the NFL. So if you're acting the part of a fool or you're not performing, why am I going to draft this kid?
Yeah. Well,
right?
Shadur Sanders is a perfect example. He dropped all that league because he was showing up to meetings with coaches and people who might draft him.
Yeah.
In like headphones.
Yeah.
Like he's already got the job. Dude,
Yeah.
he fell dramatically.
See?
Now he's playing in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He's not even playing. He's like the last guy on the list.
Yeah. So you look at, just take a look at professional sports. Anytime the NHL is doing some type of interview, what's their dress?
Yeah.
They're in a suit and tie.
Yeah.
They're not in the uniform.
Well, they get changed, right? So, hey, game's done. They go back to the locker room. They shower. And if they're going to have an interview with the player, he's in a suit and tie. I took my son up to a Hurricanes game. And as the players were leaving, they're driving their cars out. And they weren't all fancy Gucci cars, right? But every single one of those players, because they would sign autographs and stuff as they were leaving the stadium, they were all dressed in their suit. So what's the NHL doing to have, I'll just dub it a code of conduct for their players to look representable versus these other ones where there's wearing headphones looking like Johnny Bag of Ass. Now, I got it. If you're going to interview on the field, cool, right? He hasn't had a chance to clean up. I'm fine with that. But post-game, they've built in, before we start chatting to anybody, get yourself looking decent, boom, and present that professional appearance.
Well, it's all about building. I don't care if it's let's face it, these big schools, they're a brand. Mm-hmm. Georgia, Alabama, those are brands. You can't have folks that are not doing anything other than positive stuff for that brand.
Yeah.
Because if you're not, you're no good to me.
No.
And they don't treat it like that.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these corporations and some of these leagues do, but who knows, man? I don't know. When these play, they're starting to make fun of it to the point where there's a commercial where, all my buddies, they made a smart decision, so now they think they're like NFL players showing up on game day, and they have all these weird outfits on with the furry hats and stuff. Hey, that's funny because it's a joke. Mm-hmm. It's an absolute joke. But anyway, that's my 2 cents. Hey, do me a favor, pull this through your mouth just a little bit. Better.
All right. There we go.
Yeah. So, what do you think?
Man, I work with a lot of athletes, and they, in one hand, right, freedom of speech, they got their opinions, right? But I definitely understand. Well, when I'm in uniform, I can't say anything I want,
right?
Mm-hmm.
Right. A lot of service members don't recognize that too, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that a lot of teams don't necessarily have those same ideals in place. Like, hey, when you're wearing the uniform, just talk about what you're doing in the uniform.
Yeah.
If you want to talk about something else, take the uniform off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how you should position yourself.
Yep.
I wonder how that hasn't crossed the commissioner's mind or just...
He doesn't want it to, right? Because to me, the commissioner is a jellyfish. He's weak. So when I'm looking at it from entrepreneur to entrepreneur, is this a guy that I want to do, emulate anything he's doing? No. You can't even control your own league. And I think it was Kaepernick that was the first one to do the old kneeling thing. Should have nipped that shit in the ass. Hey, dude, that's one. You ain't getting two. You pull that shit again, you're out of my league forever. Hey, team, I don't care, right? This is my freaking league. We're not going to play these games. And he could have nipped it day one.
Yeah, it kind of got away from him there, didn't it?
It got away.
Oh, dude.
Right? So now you have these teams, these players acting all the part of the fool. And then you've got, we don't believe in the flag. And we're just going to stay in the locker room. Cool. Shut your team down. You're done. You're out of the league. Right? Watch that owner go, excuse me? What part? But he has to have his ducats in place. Whatever, his policies, contracts that he's doing with these people has to clearly state. Now, if he doesn't, hey, do a revision. Hey, guys, here's the new rule. Everyone sign, agree, boom. It's done. No politics in the league. What you do in your own time, fine. Because you're now, what's to say all these cats aren't going to act the part of a fool? So we come out for the national anthem. Teams aren't out there. Is this even an American game? What are we doing?
Yeah, it is a little different.
It just adds a different twist to it. So I look at the commissioner as a very weak leader. He could have nipped it day one. He didn't. Why? I don't know. But
yeah, that commissioner for the NBA has totally destroyed that league. It is terrible.
Yeah, does anybody even watch the NBA anymore?
No, their ratings are awful.
I don't know.
Yeah, their ratings are awful. As a matter of fact, I think this past year, or actually 2 years ago, when Caitlin Clark and LSU, those two teams, Iowa, were going after it in the women's college championship. I think they blew the ratings away from the NBA.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the NBA still makes money, but the brand is not what it used to be. No. Dude, when Larry Bird and Magic and all those guys, were just crushing it, they understood that, hey, we need to build this brand because if they're making more money, we're going to get more money. They don't think that way anymore.
No.
They just don't. They don't care.
No.
They just don't care. So,
nope.
It's pretty interesting. I don't know how we got on the topic, but I love it. I love that stuff.
Yeah.
I think there are some similarities between athletes and those in uniform in a sense of what you alluded to earlier, right? The length of time that you are in uniform and in sports is limited for the most part, right? You got the Tom Brady's that are playing for 20 years, just like you got people in the military that are in it for 30 years. Mm-hmm. But how many people are one and done with their contract in the military? And then they lose a lot of the benefits that they had. Mm-hmm. Right, whether it's their SGLI, right, their life insurance, and now they don't have any when they get out, or the tax-free commissary that they had, and then they got to get out, and that's where.
Well, go ahead. I'm going to pause you with the commissary, right?
Sure.
So the commissary is an interesting beast because yes, it's tax-free, and depending on what state you're in, you might save, but if you look at the end of that receipt, there's a 5% surcharge.
Interesting.
So that's the commissary's. Whether they need that for their, maintenance,
operation costs,
whatever, right? So I always caution, people go, oh, look at the commissary. Yeah, okay. Look at the bottom of your receipt.
I'm sure they're going to privatize it soon enough. Well, or bring in a Publix or a Kroger or something instead.
I don't know if they will, and I don't know the legalities. So you look at AAFES, right? How come AAFES hasn't been swapped out with the Target or something like that? So I'm sure there's something, and I forget the direct name. I think the commissary has defense in there somewhere, so they're somehow tied in there. But that surcharge, right? So I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. It's just, and it caught me one day, and it wasn't until I looked at the receipt, and I'm like,
what's this?
Hey, what's this surcharge?
I don't know.
Right? And then you start asking, whether it's operating costs. But then you have, and we're going to go down the commissary road, but you have the baggers there. Right? And that's cool if you want to sit there and work for tips or do whatever, but they're also like roaches. Hey, dude, I don't need you to carry my bags because I'm going from the commissary. I'm going to make a run over to the PX or something that's in that vicinity, right? I don't need you right now. But it's like, hey, let me go away, right? And it's that battle It's like little roaches ready to
That
attack.
Titanic struggle.
Yeah.
It's like when you go get a coffee and they're like, it's just going to ask you a few questions. You're like, you got my coffee.
Yeah.
I need to pay you $3.
Yeah. Where's my and you bring up a great point because now we've turned into this tip society.
The tip culture,
It's
man, is just out of control, dude.
Part of the process. It's going to ask you a few questions.
Yeah.
I know what the questions are. I'm not going to tip you.
Hit zero. It's like, how do I get out of this thing?
Dude, they're
Thank you.
hammering me at the drive-thru for a cup of coffee. I was like,
They're like, you pushed a button that had a picture of a hamburger on it.
Yeah.
and it warmed it up. Yeah.
Sorry, I digressed there.
No,
My
you're good.
point was, though, right, when these folks get out of the military,
Yeah.
there's a lot of changes to their finances that they weren't necessarily prepared for, that nobody in the military prepared them for,
No.
right? Like,
Yeah.
I was set up with a TSP, right, the Thrift Savings Plan.
Yep.
It's great. It's an employer-sponsored plan.
Yep.
But I was automatically put into the G Fund, which is the safest, most conservative fund possible. As an 18-year-old, I didn't need, that is not a risk tolerance that an 18-year-old needs to be in, right?
Yeah.
It's a retirement account. I'm not
Right.
touching that until I'm almost 60 years old.
Right.
I need to be in the opposite of that, the most aggressive fund. Because what we've seen, although past performance is not indicative of future results, if you look at the stock market over the last 98 years, you look at 1-year annualized returns. The market was positive 74% of the time. 5-year annualized returns show you that the market was positive 87% of the time. 15-year annualized returns, the market was positive 100% of the time. So if I'm not touching that TSP or any retirement account for at least 40 almost years, then why the hell do I need to be in something that only gets me 2% a year?
Right.
Yeah.
Nobody taught me that.
No.
It wasn't until I was about 8 years in the military and I started doing finance on the civilian side that I realized, wait a second, I need to make some changes here.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, they've since changed that. They are now using life cycle funds, right, or target date funds, which is more appropriate for everybody when they get in. The downside, though, is that we all get out at different times. We all have different target dates of when we actually want to retire or access those dollars. You talk to a serial entrepreneur, they're never really going to retire. They're going to slow down,
Yep.
but they're not going to retire. So they might not want to touch those dollars at 60. That person needs an actual advisor, not just a random automated system that says, when are you turning 60? This is what you're investing into. So again, I'm digressing here, but we have to get back into recognizing that being financially literate is a part, is almost as important as being physically fit, mentally fit. Because if Joe Schmo is deployed and his wife is about to go into bankruptcy with him back home, that's going to mess up his mental state. He's not going to be ready for his mission. So, long rant there.
No.
But we're not doing a good enough job preparing guys financially.
100% we're not. And I think part of that, it all boils down to, if we look at the military, let's just say your average age of people coming in, 18 in that 21 window. Again, I'm getting money that I've never got before. Am I thinking about investing? Am I thinking of the future? Nope. I'm just thinking about, hey, what good time am I going to have now? Off we go. So part of it is, if you look at the system's slightly broke. So how do we inject financial knowledge into these people coming in so that, hey, maybe at that 4-year mark, I've kind of got an idea, the security I've had, the money I've invested. Oh, how do I continue that? How do I continue that? So that, to me, is, I think, the problem is, unfortunately, when you look at the military, it's this big mobile meat grinder. They're happy when you're in. They start grinding you up. And what comes out, they really don't care. So they don't set you up for success. So, yes, the burden's on the individual service member, but there's no education along the way. So how can you necessarily fault them? Because let's say you get somebody that has no clue or came from a family that is not financially secure.
Yeah.
And they're just going paycheck to paycheck. Well, that's what I'm used to living, doing. Now I have all this money, whether it's I'm blowing it, sending it back home, whatever the case may be. They're not thinking of that. So how do we inject that knowledge into those new individuals coming in? And then, oh, by the way, how do we keep that knowledge going to go, all right, hey, you're at that 6-year mark. Hey, you probably should be about at this point, right? Looking at retirement. Maybe what's the next thing we do? Hey, maybe you've got the TSP going on. Maybe we opt for some high-yield CDs or change something, right? But just get people educated on how to be better secure in their finances.
Yeah, I think it's cyclical, right? Because you might teach one dude, but once that dude gets off his team or once he gets out and he goes and PCSs somewhere else, where does the knowledge go? There's going to become a knowledge gap. So until the military as a whole recognizes this systemic issue, it's not going to change much, right?
And I don't think they will change because it doesn't affect them. They still have the service member performing the duties there. Because let's think about it. What are you doing by planning or investing in your future? You're looking at the future. The Army knows, hey, they got you, let's say, either for that time of the contract or maybe out to 20 plus, right? They got you for that window. They don't care, in my opinion, what happens in the backside. Hey, have a good time. Off you go. Boom. You collect your retirement. Now, that's the other thing a lot of people don't address really is the benefits once you say if you can ride your time to retirement.
Exactly.
The health care is probably the biggest one.
Yeah.
And I know just talking to some people out there, the numbers people are paying for health care at a monthly level.
Yeah, it's insane.
And like I remember having a conversation. I think my TRICARE cost me, I think it's for me and my wife, like $550. That's for our health. Now, granted, our dental, we pay a lot more, right?
Sure.
Figure that one, the one we use least. But anyway, but you have individuals paying almost $2,000 a month for health care.
Yeah.
And I'm just like...
You got those gray zone retirees. Right?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy, right? So things like that, I mean, that's a huge benefit in itself.
Yep.
So...
Yeah, I think once it affects the soldier or the service member while they're still in, that's when Big Army would recognize it.
Yes.
Right. So we have gotten better as a society about talking about mental health, and now there are initiatives specifically in SOF. There's like the Human Performance Wellness Program. They talk about mental health. I think that's great.
Sure.
Prior to that, it wasn't really talked about, right? Guys are like, well, if I talk about mental health, I'm not going to get to go to cool guy school, or I'm not going to get to deploy. Now more people are talking about it. The command teams are talking about it. They're saying it's important, which is great because we've seen how many suicides are happening. But how many people are running into financial issues, right? How many divorces are in the military, right? All the time. How much of that is caused by financial stress, in addition to op tempos and guys being gone all the time or girls being gone all the time? So I think it's an issue, and it's just not talked about enough because it can be addressed while they're in.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think they necessarily recognize it as a big enough problem yet.
No.
Whether it's benefits or otherwise, right? Like, so I did, my background, I had an interesting teenagehood, right? My dad was in and out of jail. I was homeless for a short period of time. I had to figure out a lot of stuff on my own. I had a fantastic group of mentors that eventually helped me, right, when I didn't want to ask for help. And somehow I didn't end up dead or in a gang or something, right? And the Army helped, right? You can call the Army a gang. But, I was one of the lucky ones. But how many of the people that I served with came from worse backgrounds or similar backgrounds? They didn't have any financial literacy at all. And there was no sergeant teaching me about money. They were teaching me, this is how you hold your weapon correctly. This is how you, change things. But it would be helpful. Not as like a whole MOS, right? There is a finance MOS, but it's not per financial literacy.
No.
Right? But there's how many courses are there now about mental health that come to the military, or just have a specialist, or bring a financial advisor into a company. I've done that a couple times. I've gone to different units and just be like, hey, let's talk about financial literacy. People don't know what questions to ask because everybody's in a different scenario. But they're all getting paid on a level scale. They know what their pay is going to be.
Yep.
They know what their bills are. And it's just a matter of, are you fucking budgeting?
Yeah.
Sorry if I'm cursing here.
No,
that's fine.
You're fine.
Like,
pay yourself first.
Yeah.
Right? That concept. But see, I boil that down to this as well, right? And again, every family's going to be different. But if you're never taught that kind of the core level of, hey, you watch mom and dad put away whatever it is, hey, we get the paycheck, we're putting away this amount. So if you've never even shown that, so now you kind of come into that adulthood, now you have this money, no one's educating, pay yourself first. You should be the number one before you pull out that checkbook. I might be dating myself by going checkbook, but before you write that first check, the first check goes to me and invest in my future, right? But we don't have that. And you're spot on where the military doesn't either, because they may warn you, hey, don't go down Bragg Boulevard and spend 22% buying that new stereo, right? So they'll give you some, but to me it's not the right one. Yeah, inject that, but hey, what are we putting away for the future?
Yeah.
And they're not.
Have you guys ever heard of the 60-20-20 method?
Yes.
Yeah.
As far as the TSP?
Not the TSP, in
Okay.
general, in budgeting.
Budgeting.
Right.
Budgeting,
So the
yeah.
idea is 60% of your income should be set aside for fixed expenses. How much am I paying for rent, mortgage, car, etc. 20%, that's your fun money. That's going down to Bragg Boulevard, right? That's going out getting Mexican food with the boys. The last 20%, those are your saving and investing dollars, right? So a part of that could be your TSP.
Yep.
Another part of that could be saving up for a down payment on a house, even though you don't necessarily need to use one with the VA. But the idea is if we're allocating our dollars before we're spending them, we're going to end up saving and investing a lot more in the long run. I think the big word that it boils down to is intentionality.
Yeah.
So many folks are flying by the seat of their pants, especially when you're a friggin' private or a specialist where you're just waiting, hurry up and wait for whatever they tell me is next, as opposed to being intentional with my time. How can I be proactive here? Well, how can you be proactive with your money?
Yeah.
You know what the next check's going to look like.
Yeah.
Pay yourself first. Put X amount of dollars in a high yield savings account instead of a regular savings account where you make 3%.
Yep.
And then make sure you have 3 months expenses saved in. Okay, now you can save up for that vacation to XYZ.
Yeah.
But nobody teaches them that.
No.
It's a lifelong skill that, fortunately, we talked about it in a show not too long ago, and the crew members got some bonus stuff about it as well. People struggle with this. All the way through their lives, they struggle with it. And we see a lot of it in law enforcement and in military where people don't even know how to read their paycheck, let alone how to do the, 60-20-20.
Yeah.
But that's a great piece of advice, What do we do? I know bringing someone in, like we bring in nutrition people, we bring in mental health people, bringing in financial people. Why do you think, in your experience being in the financial field, why do you think that's not something that these corporations do? Are they answering the hot topic of the day like mental health, or is it something that they just don't feel is in their purview?
I think the military organizations don't necessarily recognize that it's a problem yet, right? In SOF, we got HPW. That's been helpful. That isn't widely disseminated yet, right? Other groups are not necessarily focusing on mental health. Well, non-SOF guys have mental health issues too, right?
Yeah.
And they also have money issues, and it's just simply not talked about enough. So these conversations are what's needed, but have these conversations at the command level and below. How many people do command rotations but don't actually listen to their soldiers? They talk about stuff that doesn't necessarily matter.
Oh, yeah.
Because they just want to say, hey, I showed up, I talked to Joe, I got checked the block, I gave somebody a coin, and I got out. Spend more than an hour with them on a rotation. Spend the friggin' day with them. Walk through the woods on the 12-mile ruck for training.
Yep.
Afterwards, say, hey, what's going on at home?
Yeah.
It's not just about being in the woods, right? What's going on at home?
You hit the nail on the head, right? There's never that, let's just call it a breach into that personal life. Hey, are you performing now? Yep. And like you said with incoming commanders, they'll send out the commander survey, right? You may not even see this cat. Right? We got commander who? Yeah, Schmuckles is the new great, right? I filled out the survey. Yeah, whatever, right? Who cares? But if you look at it, there's not that personal touch with the service member. Hey, man, you sit there and, like I said, you're on the ruck and, yeah, hey, sir, my family life is crap. My wife has this issues, dramas. Whoa, that's something we should be addressing, or we should be helping that service member through. Or what do you mean she just got diagnosed with cancer? Hey, dude, what do we need to do? Right? Are you getting the proper care from WOMAC? Are the things happening for you? Because if he says no, his mind's not there.
Yeah.
His mind's on his wife. Like, oh my God, she's got cancer. What the hell's going on? Right? But how do we bridge that gap? And like you said, it's leadership.
Yeah.
So when we go back to the conversation we had earlier with these NFL teams, it's all leadership. So if we could share like one message, this is just me thinking out loud. Hey, to these service members, pay yourself first. If we could just get that message across, invest in yourself. So we have them do it while they're in uniform. We have it do it while if you want to say their official duties. Why not carry that over? Hey, dude, when you get paid, whether it's the 15th, the end of the month, however you get your pay yourself first. And at least get that kind of changing. And if we can start small, now we can start educating. All right, buddy, hey, now you've got some ducats sitting there. All right, you got $1,000 sitting in the bank. Okay, what can we do with that? Is that enough that you need for your emergency fund? Is it not? Everyone's going to be different, right? But start setting them up for success.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing with the Army, when it comes to finances, if you think about this, the Army Relief Fund, right? So if a service member does get into a pinch, they can go kind of reach out. So that's a good thing,
but are guys thinking, well, I've got a safety net in the back of my mind, so I don't have to necessarily prep for myself?
No, because they're like, oh, the military has red tape. How long is it going to take them to get that $500? 8 months? 5 months?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, people would abuse it if they could get it immediately, right? And that's another problem, right? Bad apples.
Yeah.
But if you have a good leadership team, whether it's a squad leader, team leader, commander, they can vouch for Joe.
100%.
Right? If they talk to Joe on that ruck march and they said, hey, man, what's on your mind?
Yeah.
If they don't know what's on their mind, if Joe doesn't speak up about it, then they can't trust Joe to say, oh, this guy is actually in some stuff right now. He does need that. Let's expedite this $500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they don't have that relationship, then it's going to be red tape.
Yeah.
So just pivoting a little bit, what type of services do you do now that you offer? And you said you pass along a lot of this stuff to veterans.
Yeah, so I didn't even introduce myself.
No,
Sorry,
we'll
guys.
do that. We'll do that in post.
Yeah. So, on the civilian side, I'm a financial advisor, right? And that means a lot of different things to different people. I've worked at all the big wirehouses before. Ultimately, all financial advisors want to get their clients to a better position tomorrow than they are today. It's just the strategy, the way we go about doing that. Our skill sets is what differentiates us. When I'm talking to veterans, which is a significant amount of my clientele, it might be a very simple conversation of, hey, how are you budgeting, right? If I'm talking to the specialist, the private, et cetera. If I'm talking to a soft guy, right, typically they are also an entrepreneur or they want to start a business or something. So there's a slightly different conversation, right? If I'm talking to a business owner, I might say, okay, well, what happens to your business if something happens to you, right? You guys might be 50-50 ownership in a business. God forbid one of you passes away. Where does the equity go? Does it go to your spouse?
Yeah.
Does the spouse want anything to do with the business? How do we buy out that spouse? All right. If I'm talking to just Joe Schmo who got married and has 5 kids, right, does he know the resources that are available? Because he can try to budget on the small paycheck he gets as a private. But if he starts including some of the resources that are available to him, he's going to have a lot more potential and capacity to do other things that are important, right?
Yeah.
Is he taking care of the defensive side of the ball first before the offensive side? Or is he on Reddit or Discord looking at, hey, invest in Fartcoin and gambling his money? Because that stuff is just gambling. There's no regulation to it right now. They don't exactly know what they're doing.
Right.
I'm limited in terms of what I can talk about with products, but, there are some basic foundational planning tools that service members need to address before they get out of the military, right? And I'm in the guard side is very interesting, right? So I'm still in the guard. I've been in for 16 years. So I tell my clients I help people with their money during the week and I shoot guns and blow stuff up on the weekend. It's good balance, right? I am able to see from the business perspective how folks that are transitioning out need to prepare, right? So I said it at the very beginning, life insurance, right? Something very simple. You get $500,000 of life insurance now when you're in the military. But when you get out, what happens to life insurance? It goes away unless you opt into VGLI, which we talk about expenses, right? If you're 60 to 65 years old and that same $500,000 of life insurance is what you have in VGLI, it costs about $750 a month.
Wow.
Not a lot of people can afford that, right?
No, it's a terrible, my opinion, it's a terrible plan, right? Because that's one of the things when you get ready to retire, they offer you, and you're going, dude, the numbers. Have you lost your ever-loving mind? And I'm just sitting there doing quick math on the backside going, well, if I take that $750, and I don't remember what my numbers were, but if I just take that $750 and I invest it wisely, where's my money going to be there?
Sure.
Because, hey, man, it did not make sense. And I think, don't quote me on it, I think there was an increase per year. I don't remember. It was a horrible financial investment, in my opinion.
Yeah. So if somebody's got 10 traumatic brain injuries, they're not going to have a lot of options other than using the VGLI, Veterans Group Life Insurance. However, before somebody goes to the VA and say, I've got X, Y, Z going on with me, and you have a chart now that says you are broken, if you were to get your own life insurance, you're not going to have to worry about necessarily paying $750,000 or $750 a month. So what I talk to guys is like, before you get out, let's set some of this stuff up. Stop kicking the can down the road until it's too late. Because if then you, after the VA, you try to apply, will you get approved? Potentially.
Yeah.
But it's probably still going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
Right.
So one thing on that, I'm glad you kind of brought up the life insurance thing. I know when I was active, chances of me probably dying was higher than average, right? So we got supplemental on top of the SGLI.
Great.
So I ended up going with AFMA, and I think they gave us, if my memory serves me right, you'll have to forgive me with all my TBIs in there. So I think was SGLI, it was at 500. Didn't it go up to 800, or did it stay at 500? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Anyway, we got supplemental with AFMA to bring it. You know, Mama was going to get well over $1 million, and which made it easy during that time. So they knew, hey, I had this active plan, which was obviously at a cheaper rate. It was about the same price as the SGLI, but now, they know you're getting ready to retire. Do you want to carry that over to term? 100% I do.
Yeah.
Check, right? There's no physical. There's no nothing. It just rolls right over. Now, granted, the premiums go up a little bit.
Yes. Are you talking about moving it to permanent, from term to permanent? Is that what you were talking about?
No, just straight. So I
just continuing the term. I see.
Just
Okay,
continuing
gotcha,
the term.
gotcha.
Yep. Yeah, so we ended up, I opted for 20-year term because you couldn't beat the rates. So just kind of carried over, said, yep.
That's awesome.
But then knowing that the VGLI money there, so having that number in the back of your head, all right, if I rip that out, now I start investing that on top of what I'm already investing. Now, God forbid anything should happen, Mama's definitely going to be taken care of, because that's what you care about at the end of the day, is I don't want to sit there and leave them strung high and dry.
Exactly.
So
yeah. Now, you were talking about the changes in the SGLI. For a very long time, it was $400,000. It was $400,000 for 18 years.
Yep.
They didn't change it to $500 until about 3 years ago.
Okay.
Well, when is the next time that increase is going to happen?
Yeah.
Is it another 18 years?
Probably.
Probably.
At least.
What the hell is $500,000 going to be 15 years from now?
Right.
Right. If inflation remains 3% on average, right? If you took $100,000 and you looked at the average inflation rate of 3% over 30 years, that $100,000 is going to feel like $41,000 in 30 years. If inflation were 5%, that $100,000 is going to feel like $23,000,
Which is incredible.
in 30 years, right? So when people talk about like, oh yeah, I think the apocalypse is coming, so I'm just going to stick $100,000 under my mattress. I get it. You want to have cash on hand in case stuff hits the fan, and sure, have a little bit of cash on hand. But realistically, you need to have your money growing somewhere,
Working
right?
for you.
Yeah,
Yes.
right. That is an asset.
Oh, yeah.
Or else you're literally losing money every day.
Yeah.
So as something as simple as a high yield savings account, which some people have heard of, but not everybody has, so I'll touch on those for a second. They're offered in a lot of different places. It's not like your bank's high yield savings account necessarily, but some offer really good rates. I think on average right now we're seeing about 3 to 3.5% of APY, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
For those active duty service members listening, if you have an Amex, right, they have a high yield savings account, right? Because your Amex is free annual instead of paying $8.95 if you're active duty, which is awesome because there's a lot of benefits with that. Amex did not pay me to say that. High yield savings accounts are really good though, right? And now even though the Fed just lowered interest rates last week, that's going to slightly affect that 3.5. It might go down to 3.5 or 3.25 or 3. That's still better than nothing, right? That you're getting 1% in your bank, if that.
Right.
So, you stick $1,000 and you're going to have $1,035 at the end of the year. So the idea is have your money make more money for you.
Yeah.
And let those be your short-term dollars. If you're making a big purchase in the next 2 years, or if you have a large expense coming up, or your emergency fund, those 3 buckets, that's your high yield savings account.
Yep.
If you're not touching those dollars for at least 2 years, that's when we want to start looking at investing opportunities, whether it's just individual account in the stock market or otherwise, right? 10 years plus or retirement for most people, that's when we start looking at other types of vehicles.
Yeah.
What's your take on CDs?
I think they can be great for the right person, but everybody's in a different situation, right? A lot of people don't like CDs because of that lockup period, right? You can't touch it. That's why some people say, I like a high-yield savings account better because it's still liquid. It might take 3 days to get the money out, but it's still liquid compared to a CD, right? So I would like to say that you should have, in the best-case scenario, multiple vehicles in your portfolio, right? There are your singles dollars, and then there's your home runs dollars, right? If you're an entrepreneur, your business, that's your home run dollar. You're going to take a little bit more risks. You're going to swing harder. And yes, you might hit a home run. Most of the time, though, you might be digging, right? Before the home run actually happens. While you're swinging, wouldn't it make sense to have a couple of singles and doubles there?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right? So we have to diversify the portfolio, have some things that are providing a consistent return. It might not be a sexy return, but it's safe and consistent.
That's right.
Right? And yeah, sure, have the home run dollars, but that shouldn't be all your eggs in one basket, right? So in 2021, in January 2021, if you guys came to me and you said, Jordan, we're going to give you all of our money, you stick it in real estate. Well, you guys would look like geniuses. By the end of the year, real estate as an asset was up 45.99%. That's amazing. You're going to look extremely bright. But if we never had that conversation, and in January 1st of 2022, you said, hey, real estate kicked ass last year. Take all of our money, put it in real estate again. Well, you're going to be down about 20-something% the next year, right? So, again, goes back to you have to diversify. You can't stick all of your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
And I think that's a key for anyone listening, regardless service member, entrepreneur, just regular civilian out there, you've got to diversify. And too many people get, whether they watch the ads and the ads work for them and they go, oh, I'm going to put all my eggs in one basket. So they say, hey, this is the best known plan. And then, like you said, you're sitting there the next year going, looking at your numbers, because hopefully numbers are the key, right? Running a business, you got to know your numbers. Even for us doing financial planning, you got to invest in those numbers to go, or look at those numbers to at least go, hey, what's performing, what's not? Hey, is this savings account? Oh, they pulled the rug out from underneath me. We won't mention anyone like USAA, right? That they had a 5% high yield savings. But if you never checked your statements, all of a sudden, they changed the numbers. And they dumped it hard. So you think you're making 5 on the backside because I'm not taking that little bit of effort to look at the statement. And all of a sudden you're like, hey, what's this 0.5%? What happened to my – they changed the zero placement? It's like, no. So guys got to be aware of that as well.
Yeah. So where can people find you?
I have an Instagram page. I got a website, all that stuff. Website, jordan.m as in Michael, .thompson, THOMPSON.nm.com is my website. That's probably the best place to do it.
It is the best place. Yeah. So you were going to go down so here's the thing. You're going to go down the social route or Instagram. Here's the thing. The problem with Instagram, problem with any of these social platforms, you don't control them. Yeah. How do I know? Because we got zucked, right? So we're in the middle of business dealings doing DMs with people on Instagram. And then when Zuck pulls the plug, you can't go back and look at who's whatever. So your website, by far, is the best place.
We'll use that.
Always use it.
We'll put it in the show notes, too, yeah.
And then with your website, do you put out like a financial newsletter or anything like that?
No newsletter right now. There's pretty decent content right now. I have my own book of business, and I affiliate with a larger organization.
Okay.
And through that, I get content that's put out, right?
Oh, okay.
They have like a business Instagram for me, per
Gotcha.
se.
Yeah.
If somebody is my client, then I'm going to send them some great information.
Sure.
If somebody's my client, I meet with them at least once a year because as your life changes, your financial plan needs to change along with it, right?
Oh, yeah.
But one thing that I would say I do for veterans that's different than non-veterans is I'm going to have an initial conversation with somebody, right? I'm going to ask them the logical, data-based questions, assets, liabilities. More importantly, though, I'm going to ask them the emotional questions. What makes you tick? Mm-hmm. Why are you saving the way that you save? What are your goals personally, professionally, and financially? Mm-hmm. From that data, I'm going to create a plan, and the next time we meet, I'm going to create that or show you that plan and say, how do we take you from A to B to C to D? Mm-hmm. If I find gaps in their plan, that's when I make recommendations. And if they want to become my client at that time and I become their advisor, cool, we'll move forward.
Yeah.
But, depending on the net worth of the person I'm working with, if we wanted to do fee-based planning with my team, we might charge anywhere from $3,500 to $10,000 from my team. Mm-hmm. However, if I'm working with veterans, I'm not going to charge any fee for a plan. Mm-hmm. I can because essentially it's all the same in terms of you got to get your budget together.
Oh, yeah.
Right? But yeah, the cool thing about our role as advisors in my organization is that you don't have to have $500,000 to be a client. Mm-hmm. Right? I wasn't raised with $500,000.
Right.
Right? Now, do I have clients like that? Yeah.
Sure.
But, I just want people to, again, going back to that word, be intentional. Mm-hmm. Be intentional about wanting to be in a financial position that's better than you're in today.
Oh, yeah.
Because I can give you all the guidance in the world, but if you don't follow it, or if you don't want to do better.
You have to execute.
Right?
Yeah.
So, I really appreciate talking about this stuff with you guys. And then let me talk.
And one last thing. So let's say we had an organization, whether law enforcement, military, whatever, wanted to bring you in to kind of do you do any type of speaking events as far as financial planning for them?
Yeah. So I've gone to military organizations mostly, and then I've also talked with the Georgia I live in Georgia. Georgia Secretary of State has had me come out and be on a panel a couple times at Warner Robins. I don't know if you guys know where Warner Robins is.
Yeah.
Talking to veteran business owners. Very high level information, but I think the bread and butter for somebody is going to be that one-on-one conversation.
Yep.
But yes, organizations can absolutely reach out to me and have me come out and give a high-level overview of what people should be doing.
Okay. So give us that website one more time.
Yeah, jordan.m.thompson@nm.com is my email. And instead of an @ it's a dot for the website.
Okay. Awesome. If you guys are liking this content and you can't get enough of it, go to ontherangepodcast.com and check out the crew membership. Have a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff. And the show always continues over on the crew members page, Rick.
For the rest of you guys, don't forget, train hard, stay safe, and we'll see you on the range.
All right.
Thanks, guys.